What's up, Facebook Live? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you all. Hopefully you are having an amazing day. Let me see if I can find this over on Facebook so I could see your comments. As you're tuning in, I would love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. And number two, I'd love to know, there we go, 3 things you are grateful for out there in Facebook world today. And wherever you are tuning in from, I'm going to grab this and make sure. Oh, it is coming through loud and clear. Very nice. Let's see if I can get this to open. I think so. Let's see. As you're tuning in, I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know 3 things you are grateful for. Shady said, hello, sir. Welcome. Miss you too, man. Hopefully it's doing well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I do see that number ticking up as you're tuning in. I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know 3 things you're grateful for right down there in the comments section. I'm going to see if I can watch it on my side and chit-chat with you guys just a little bit. Today we're talking about... Raul, what's up, buddy? Nice to see you. Today we are going to be talking about big projects. I just got a few interesting... I guess comments or posts or messages sent to me on different platforms. I was combing through them. Courtney from Dallas. What is going on, my friend? Grateful for my family, my passion, and my opportunities. Very nice. Grateful for my family, my mission, and my time. Very cool. Seeing those starting to come in now. Let's see. Hello from Dallas. Dana, nice to see you. Welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Christina from Los Angeles. Grateful for my health, my family, and amazing people in my life. Very cool. Well, welcome. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know 3 things you are grateful for today. The reason I ask that isn't so much to have a happy conversation with everybody. I ask it because, according to science and research based on some studies done at Harvard and many other universities, if you can force your brain to scan the world around you and focus on 3 things that are good that are happening, it overall boosts your satisfaction for life and your happiness. It's in a book called The Happiness Advantage. Craig from Ibiza. Raul from Rockland, California. Grateful for my health, my health of kids. Stephen from Liverpool, UK. What's up, buddy? Hello from the UK, grateful for my friends, family, positive people. Very nice. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, where did the rest of those comments go? Craig, howdy. Marilyn, nice to see you from Denver. Welcome back. Let me see if I can get this to open. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, that's not working. Close it. All right, Scott, what's up, buddy? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dana, grateful for myself, all I can share, my church, and my family. Very nice. So let's see. How many of you have a big project you're currently working on? Chris from Salt Lake City, what's up, buddy? Grateful for my health, my family, and Facebook Live. Clarissa, grateful for my family, my health, and everybody every day given to us. That's a good one. I like that. So how many of you have a really big project, a work project, a health project, a relationship project? Very nice. And what is your current big project? I'm curious what either the title or the gist of what it is. Courtney's got one. Shady's got one. Currently working on a cloud platform for AR, VR. Cool. Christina's got one. Very nice. And Courtney, Shady, bodybuilding. Very cool. I did that for 1.5 years. It is fun. Pete's got a big project, finding a new home. Very cool. What other big projects do y'all have going on in your life? Just lost 45 kilos. Well done, man. That is awesome. Let's see. The lock all, don't be the key, a turnkey, be the lock. Got it? Me, man, I'm working on getting a label. I do music. Very cool. Congratulations. Hopefully you get one. I have a big health project going back on track. Very cool. Finding a new job. What? That could be fun. Working on getting healthy getting my health to the next level. Very cool. Raul, I have a huge project. 3 funnels, author, speaker, coach, teaching about importance of understanding experiential emotion. Very cool. Expressing emotion. Very cool. I like that. And what's interesting, from an outside perspective, most people, including us, tend to share a lot of highlight stuff. So when something great happens, when something exciting happens, when something beautiful unfolds, or when something neat is in motion, and in doing stuff like that, the fun part is it's beautiful and it's awesome and it's exciting and it's inspiring. Like, I love poking around in some of y'all Facebook's profiles or Instagram things and seeing what you're up to and being like, wow, look at that. How cool. And it's neat. It's exciting. You know, it just shows me what's possible. Something exciting and neat that came through. My dad was on the cover of Money magazine. I think it's coming up, but I saw the picture of it today. I was like, hey, how cool. And it's pretty neat to watch those things happen. And so it's interesting. The tricky part, though, is when you see a lot of the highlights, most of the time, you know, we don't have us being like, hey, everybody, about 14 hours at my desk today, still working on this project. Anyways, have a good one. See you guys tomorrow. We don't have a whole lot of that going on in the world because most of us will get bored. You know, you tune in and see someone still sitting at my desk, still working on the project. See you in a few. Still at my desk, haven't left all day. See you in a few. That'd be boring. We'd be like, go do something. But the funny part is, let's see. Courtney says, getting my first book on paper and my first video class series out to the world. Very cool. Versus just your network marketing team. Congratulations, Courtney. Dana, yes. New reorganization of a few departments at the job. Very cool. Kayla says, helping child care centers understand the importance of subconscious programming in children. Working on life coach and motivational speaker. Very cool. And so the interesting part is we see a lot of the highlights, which is exciting and motivating and inspiring. We don't see a lot of the work for the most part. Some people are good at it. I know Kevin Hart, The Rock's pretty good at it. But some of these guys, they're really good at showing you behind the scenes of 4:45 in the morning. I just landed. I have to be up at 7:30 and I'm going to hit the gym for an hour because I know that'll make me the best version of myself. And you're like, dang, homie, like that's crazy, but that's really amazing to watch. We don't highlight a lot of the work stuff. My wife and I joke around where we take pictures of each other and put like funny faces and stuff on Snapchat on each other, but we don't spend a lot of time because we're working, we're busy, we're in the mix. And so it's interesting. I had 2 comments that came through on different posts. One was we shared a picture of a really special moment where my wife and I were riding horses down the beach in Fiji, and someone wrote back somewhere earlier today, and it was like, oh, it must be nice because you're so financially free to be able to focus on the more important stuff in life. And I started laughing. And I was like, well, I'll be honest, we're doing good compared to most of the world. Now, are we hitting our goals? Yeah, we're hitting our goals, but do we ultimately want to grow more and become more and do more? Or do we want to hit levels far beyond where we're at? Of course. So when you say like, oh, someone said, oh, it must be nice. I'm like, dude, we work really hard. and we love what we do. So it's not necessarily like hard work, hard labor kind of stuff. We love the process, which we're very blessed on that. But it's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And at some moments, what's wild is in the middle of all that work, the tricky part that can become there is sometimes it seems like there's so much we're doing, we kind of get lost in the mix. And this is the reason I wanted to bring it up here, is when you have big projects you're working on, in the beginning, it's really easy to be excited about it because it's new, it's fresh, it's exciting. Yeah, you can tell people about it. You can tell yourself about it. You can go excited to see what's going to be possible and what's going to be amazing. And usually about halfway through a project is where it gets interesting. And this is, usually what separates the projects that make it out to the world, the projects that actually come to fruition, the projects that actually go make a difference. And the projects that get tabled, the projects that get cut off, the projects that somehow don't ever make it to see reality, or, the project you've been working on for 15 years or 4 years or 12 months or, 3 months, and it still hasn't seen the light of day because you're kind of stuck in that moment. And for anyone who's stuck in that moment where it's just not there yet, the biggest thing you want to do when you get to that is just focus on only the next step. And so what's wild is I spent about, 8 hours today outlining and researching for a really cool project we're putting together with some really amazing people that should be available maybe August, September this year. It's in partnership with Udemy. They called me a couple weeks ago or emailed me and asked me if I wanted to do a project with them, and I'm really pumped to be able to do so. And what's wild is in putting this project together, it took all Saturday. I promised myself not to work on Sunday, but to just have fun relaxing with my wife. And it's taken, I think 6-7 hours today of working and researching. And I'm not even close to being halfway done. Like, there's a lot more that goes into this. Luckily, we have some amazing contributors that are going to be part of it. But one thing that's fascinating, because I also got another message earlier today, which is, hey man, it's awesome to see all the cool stuff you're up to, but please remind everybody of what it takes to actually get a lot of this stuff done. Because so often it's easy for people to see the highlights and be like, dang, I want that. But they don't see everything that happened between the start of it and what actually led up to the highlight. And so, I just wanted to talk through some of that today. It's the process of really, truly just keeping your mind focused on what's the next part of this that needs to get done. And if I were to give you some steps that have been really helpful, one, stepping back and getting a huge outline of exactly what the whole project is. So see the whole forest. And then from there saying, okay, what's the starting point? And wherever the starting point is, what's the next step? What's the one thing that has to happen next? The one thing. And once that's complete, take time, and this is a big one that so many of us forget, but once it's complete, take time and be like, yeah, I did it. I got my one thing. Now, what's the next one thing? What's the next one thing that has to happen to keep this moving forward? Craig says, years of hard work normally, working hard and focus never stops. It doesn't. And that's the fun part. As long as you're doing something you're really, really in love with, and you're something you're really, really passionate about, you never want it to stop. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. As much as I love meeting new people, and I love hanging out with people, and I love learning new things, and I love working on projects that I get to share with you all because it excites me. It's fun. It's neat to spend, days, weeks, months, even years putting together a program, and then finally being able to get it ready, and finally getting it to send it out to the world, and finally getting to see what happens with it. And a lot of times that concept of, failing until you win, all the time. We've had funnels where we've spent weeks putting together this thing, writing stuff, editing stuff, creating stuff, putting it all together. And we were fixing one today where it's like people got to the third email and it was 60% open rate, 70% open rate. And then all of a sudden it's like 10% open rate. It's like, what happened to email number 3? And we figured out, we have to update it. So it's just the fine tuning of stuff. So that was our marketing meeting today. And then from there, I spent, a solid 6-7 hours now just outlining this program on performance. And it's going to be really neat. We have some amazing people that are joining us to share some of their best information. And it's pretty cool. Let's see. Craig says, just spent 2 months building a mind map business model for my company. Took a step back to take 5 forward. Exactly. And one thing that's really wild about that is there's a key point, something my wife pointed out, just a lesson from the day that was interesting. As we were watching what was working and what wasn't, and we were having to go back and update and fine tune some of the stuff in our marketing, we were just celebrating the wins and then looking at the challenges. And one big challenge, when I was talking to my wife about it, for people who are coaches out there, we launched a really cool 30-day business building challenge so you can build your coaching business. I've been able to successfully do it. I've been able to help other clients successfully do it. And now we've put together this email series. Let me see what it's called real quick. Hey, from Serbia, what is up? Welcome. Let's see. Performance Coach University. Let me see what she called it. Yep. So Performance Coach University / business challenge. This is something we put together recently that's pretty cool. / business challenge. See if that works. Yeah, 30-day business growth challenge. So that's something we've been working on. And what's interesting is I was talking to my wife about it, and she was laughing because she got so excited. She's been working every single day at drafting these emails and organizing this whole platform and getting it all set up and ready. James from Spain, what's up, buddy? What part of Spain? I'm taking my grandparents for their very first time to Barcelona next month, and then from there we're going to go to Rome for a couple days, and then I'm going to send them home. I forgot what part of Spain you're in. I'd love to know. But that's another one of the projects is going through, putting it together, and something she pointed out that was really interesting is she launched it when some of the worksheets weren't quite ready. And we started laughing. And luckily, they're worksheet number 27, 28, and 29, and 30, not 1, 2, and 3. So the beginning of the challenge is fine. It's going to take some, people roughly 30 days to get to the worksheets that aren't quite done yet. But we were laughing and we're like, how the heck did that get sent out before it was actually done? And I said, wait a minute. First off, good work. Good work on taking something that was 90% ready and taking it to the world without making it just sit there, without causing it to just wait and never get out to the world. And on the other part of that, though, good work on creating some natural positive pressure that now you have to get those worksheets done because they have to be done before people get to them. That concept. But again, what's the next step? And she was focused. Something happened with our team of someone said launch and someone said, I think it's ready. And it somehow went to the world. But that concept. Let's see. Interesting thing for me is that quite a few of the companies you can't do a standard P&L as they're on a first mover. Fresh business model, working 3 years ahead, wonderful time in tech. Interesting. So that's another fascinating thing to go back to times when things were interesting. I remember when we first started our business, I'd be curious to know what kind of company that is, Craig, that you're working on. I'm on the board of a VC fund, and we're always looking at tech stuff in health, medicine, virtual reality as well. So I'd be interested in that company just to see what it is, see if we can pass it over to the team. Anyways, so the concepts, though, of in the beginning, when you're working really hard, first, get the big vision. Second, narrow in on what is the next step. And then kind of a simple mantra as you're going through the process of building something is just what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? The other thing you can do when you're in the middle of the process of building is every now and then kind of step back and just ask yourself the question, hey, am I still on outcome? Am I still moving closer to the result I'm trying to achieve? Because sometimes we'll get so focused on the next step that sometimes that step will take us completely off path, and we've just got to wind ourselves right back on path. And so, the 30-day business building challenge, that was one we just created. We just created this awesome 8-part series that, people who are trying to figure out how to find their purpose, how to figure out what they want to do with their life. We created a really cool challenge. You guys might see some cool ads floating around Facebook or Instagram if you guys follow me. Me sitting in a hammock outside talking about finding purpose, overcoming obstacles, as well as dying with no regrets. It's a really cool training we put together. Chelsea, great question. How do you keep going when you keep hitting roadblocks? So this is an interesting thing. Because inevitably, and I'd love to know, what are you considering to be a roadblock? Is the roadblock, love the hammock, thanks Josh. Is the roadblock because it's not working, or is the roadblock because it's literally like something that's messing up the whole process? Because a lot of people consider it not working. Like, we send out an email and we hope it works, and then it doesn't work. And we're like, oh, roadblock. And it's like, no, that's just a learning process. That's, testing and failing and having to stand up, dust off, and go, okay, well, what do we have to adapt? Do we have to adjust the subject line? Do we have to adjust the content? Or, we send out a new series and we hope they get to the end of the series and we can, offer them a next step or something. But let's say only 3 out of 5,000 people get to the end of the series. We're like, pfft. And that's not a roadblock. That's just, it didn't work. You got to dust off and be like, okay, well, shoot, let's build another one of these things. So you purchased that makes sense. That's definitely a roadblock. So you purchased a really expensive piece of equipment in the past year and it continually breaking down. Eesh. What kind of equipment? Yeah, I mean, you don't have to name what it is or anything, but if your business, if it's crucial for your business, I'd highly recommend replacing it as fast as possible. I'm sure if you purchased it within the last year that there's some type of warranty or insurance you could use. Oh, direct-to-garment printer. Interesting. Yeah, I'd definitely replace it. If you're basing your business off of a tool, and the tool itself, like let's say we're using a computer to create this kind of content and the computer keeps breaking down, definitely need another computer. Because if you're basing your business around a specific tool, in this case, you really want to make sure that tool is working really well, for the possibility that as business picks up, you're able to turn stuff out faster, quicker, easier. So in that case, if the crazy question is like, well, what do you do? Oof. 2-year warranty, but the boss of the business, well, that's silly. That one's silly. It's hard when it's not your business because I'm sure they have a reason, whatever the boss's reason is. So here, negotiating with your boss. This is an interesting topic, something you can use. One thing you really want to do in that case is you want to figure out what is the reason why they choose to get something new or not get, not have something. Why would they want to replace it? What are the key factors in their world? Is it money? Is it time? Is it, I forget what the word is called. There's the gap time that exists when you have to switch from one thing to the other thing. They talk about it in MBA school. But that concept of, is it that loss that's going to occur between one machine and the other? Do they just straight up not want to deal with another machine? What up from Stockholm? There you go. Craig has a great idea. So remind the boss how it can affect the profit overall in the business and how it can affect also business being generated by having the proper machinery or the proper stuff. Now, one thing that's interesting, because I've done this a few times in working with my wife when we started working together, was she came in and she had a certain way, a certain style. She wanted to go about doing things because it's how she's always done it in her world before we started working together. And so one thing that was really interesting and just an interesting thought was she wanted to switch over our email people that we do email through. She wanted to switch it from one to another. And my thought is like, why in the world would you want to switch this when it works great? And she's like, well, it doesn't work great for me and it's not what I'm used to. And so what happens is, I had a system. It was going a specific way. And a new team member happens to be my wife. She's a little bit more leveraged than most, but she had, oh, I'm so sorry, the boss of the other company you purchased it from. I misunderstood, Chelsea. So sorry. In that case, I would definitely go back to them and show them it's not working, pull up the warranty on it. Worst case scenario, depending on how you bought it or where you bought it, if you bought it with American Express, a lot of times they have a satisfaction guarantee thing. So if you can show, if you most likely have to ship it back to American Express. and they show them that it's not working properly. And a lot of times American Express they'll handle the in-between part for you. Ooh, yeah. Just a future reference. If you use American Express for big purchases and stuff like that, they're really good at negotiating the in between. Not so good if you're the person who's selling stuff. Kind of bites. I've been on both ends of that one. But they're really good at taking care of their card holders. So if by chance you used your American Express to purchase that and there was a big issue with it, you can go through American Express and they'll either refund you themselves, depending on a certain price range, or they'll go back and fight for you, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, Chris, that's another way to do it. I mean, spread the word and review them and tell them what actually happened and how it worked. Most companies try to make that right, although some, it's interesting. Craig says it's also time for a lawyer. So here's what's interesting. We also watched speaking of business, we watched a really interesting movie last night, The Founder, the McDonald's story. And interesting story. Have you guys seen it? It's really wild to watch because it's two brothers who are these, good-hearted, hard-working people who are trying to make a difference through their little restaurant they put together. And then what's wild is this young, passionate, determined, focused, driven person comes in and he sees potential and he is freaking hungry for possibilities. And he gets in there and he convinces them to franchise. He convinces them to do it. And it's the story of how they cross paths with the guy who convinces them it's a good idea to buy the land, how he crosses paths with people who help cut costs. And what's wild is the approach to business. And this is a big deal. Because your approach to business, your approach to negotiation, your approach to handling a challenge like this, Chelsea, it's really fascinating. And I can show you, I grew up in a family that we have a really big hearts. Like we really care. And I watched Dad when I was a kid, time and time and time again, have people take advantage, have people do dumb stuff, have people attack him, have people try to sue him for stuff. And what's wild is his approach was always heart-centered, love first, care about other people, just give more than you ever expect. And it's okay, take care of other people more than anything like that. And what's wild is people would take advantage of that. People would take advantage of him being somewhat loving or soft over those years and decades of all the business where, people would come in and, there was just the most ridiculous things would happen. And people would really, truly take advantage of it. And he'd be like, oh, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, it's okay. We can make it back. Oh, it's okay. We can find another way. Oh, it's okay. And at some point, I remember, I don't know what it was, but something happened and he was legally going through something and it finally just crossed a line. And he said, you know what? No, this isn't right. And I think it was something to do with family, but it isn't right. I'm not backing down this time, and I'm going to take this all the way through. And he decided to completely switch gears. And what's really wild is he stepped up, he slammed on the gas, and he drove a court case all the way through. I think it took him over $1 million out of pocket. It was over 12 months long, and he fought this company all the way down to the last piece and won. And what's wild, though, is because he was finally willing to stand up and draw a line and say, not another day, not another moment, this ain't going to happen ever again, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to drive this all the way through. And he did so aggressively. What happens now is he doesn't necessarily have to be that crazy because they look back at the court case, they look back at the court record and go, whoa, this guy's willing to go all the way through distance-wise, and he's willing to literally smash people if they screw with them. And it's like, trust me, we probably want to find another way to do this because messing with this one probably ain't a good idea. And what's interesting is since then, a lot of things have handled themselves along the way. And it's that concept, when someone's trying to bully you or someone's trying to pick on you, all it takes is once where you stand up and you smack them hard enough and everyone goes, oh shit, don't mess with that one, they're crazy. That thought process. And, I've always been a very nice person, always trying to be generous and give more than I would take and, give more than I'd ask and all that jazz. And what I learned was, especially in the business side, when it comes to the legalities, when it comes to friendships and caring about people and all that stuff, be the giver, be the person with the huge heart, just forget about it, move on and all that jazz. But if you draw up a legal contract or if there's certain terms, my thought is be wildly over aggressive with holding people accountable to those. As long as it's agreed on in the beginning, everyone's cool with it, everyone agrees to it, everything's signed. At that point, be wildly aggressive with upholding it. And so in this case, Craig says, when it comes to contracts, I hate to say it, Jairek, but some words of advice. The person with the most money wins and can break any contract, more so in America. Fascinating. Well, in that case, have the right people backing you up when you step up for that one and take them down. And I agree. There's certain legal ways you can go about doing it. But there's also ways that you can go about knocking that one completely down. And so that thought process, even what Craig is saying though, because a lot of people's mindset is, oh, they're a big company, they'd probably smash me. Be David in the David and Goliath story if you really want to, but be willing to go the distance. That thought process. Isabel says, wow, exactly what I need to hear about holding up the legal agreement. Craig, I'll give you an interesting one on that. I have a friend out of Texas, and this is a different level. Chelsea is saying small family-owned business, 3 years into it, they're small, that concept. So, Craig, you're probably right there. That different sized businesses. I have a friend in Texas. He's a small family shop. He does really well in multiple industries, and he's gotten taken to court by Toyota Corporation, Pfizer, and two other just massive companies, and he's won every time. And the interesting part, I asked him his psychology around this, because they're a very small group. If you go to their office, I think there's only about 5-6 people that work there, but they've literally won every time a behemoth of a company has gone after them in any way. And the reason they win is they always legally look for every single possible way it could ever go prior to getting into what they're doing. And they know without a shadow of a doubt, they've already run it past the lawyers and they already have built the case in their favor prior to ever getting into the process, that once they do get into it, if anyone comes after them, they've already won. And so to them, good luck. and they've proven it 4 times in a row. I'm not saying they're never going to lose. I'm just saying it's wild to watch such a small group go up such a huge corporation coming after them and smash them every time. And when I asked them the psychology is literally coming in and doing all the homework in advance. Different case. I'm not a lawyer, but different case with Chelsea. You're buying something with the goodwill that you believe it's going to work, and it shows up and it doesn't. That's just crap business. And that sucks. So going back to Chelsea's question though, what do you do when stuff like that keeps happening? That you really have 2 choices. Either 1, let it take you down, or 2, learn from it, like you said earlier. And now that you've learned from it, make a decision to say, hey, how am I going to go about getting to the other side of this challenge? And if the machine keeps breaking, if it keeps not working, okay, what's 3 or 4 backup options? Do I have a friend who has a machine that actually works? Can I go make a deal with, someone who prints straight to fabric like that down the road from me, or somewhere online, can contact people? We have a really cool business on Etsy that my wife makes all these awesome posters you see floating around back here. And they get sold a lot of times to sales teams, sales organizations, small businesses, people looking to inspire their team. And they're pretty aggressive and fun motivational posters. They're really awesome and cool. And so what's interesting is we have, I think, 3 or 4 different ways to actually get these printed and produced, because some of the time my wife is here and she'll go do it and send it out. We have a partner who's in San Diego. He'll do it sometimes and send them out. We've also found 2 different digital partners that are offsite, that if we're traveling somewhere around the world and a big order comes through, we can outsource it to them. They can package it, print it, create it, deliver it, and send it out to the people we need in that same process. So setting up those types of systems and finding 3 or 4 backup options. That way, you can do it, they can do it, and then possibly other people. This is an interesting concept. I've been just starting to read this book, which is called Slicing Pie. Really interesting book. And in the book, it's how to slice up equity in a very small business as you're just getting started, as a way to pay for new machinery, pay for salaries or income of different people on the team. Really interesting concept. One of my friends used it to hire a new CEO for his company, and use this exact concept to figure out the exact math to hire a CEO without needing cash to do so for the first few months. And it's totally fair and all built on the whole concept of slicing pie. With that, one thing that's really interesting is a lot of times when we build stuff ourselves, we build it, we create it, we take it to market, and we send it out to the world. And, since we create and build and do all those things, what's interesting and wild is we normally reap all the rewards. We get to keep the whole pie because we created it. More recently, I've been hanging out a lot in San Francisco and meeting different friends who talk about collaboration. and it's really neat and awesome. And it's something that I believe in collaboration. And I've never really been talented at it, to be honest. I've always been someone who's like, move out of the way, I'll do it myself. And so with this, in a new program we're creating, we're going to have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 7 or 8 contributors, and really amazing contributors. Like a guy who was voted the best in his space in health and fitness for multiple years in a row. A friend of mine who's helped thousands of people get the pain out of their body. A research team from Stanford University who's going to help on certain things. A whole group from Toronto who's amazing when it comes to another topic. A world record holder guy. So we got some, I'm not going to spill the beans just yet, but we got some really amazing people that are all gonna jump in and support this. And so the fascinating part becomes, how do we slice the pie? How do we split it up between everyone in a fair way, and a smart way, and an intelligent way, where everyone gets a huge benefit, and it's still a huge win overall and not diluted or disappeared just because everyone gets a piece? And so that concept of taking care of the whole team. And one thing that's really interesting, we have an interview coming up on JRC TV, is with Chris Voss. If you're not familiar with him, he was an FBI hostage negotiator, and he teaches on the topic of negotiation. And so we interviewed him recently for JRC TV. And one thing he said is when he was writing his new book called Never Split the Difference, he had the option to, when he signed his book deal, to either keep the whole pie for himself or to dice the pie up and give it to, I think it's Ben Tal Shahir. I forget who his co-author is, but give it to his co-author, to give it to his team, to give it to his publicist, to give it to everybody. And as he's chopping up the pie, it's slowly getting sent out to different people. And what's wild is as it's getting split up, it looks like his piece is getting smaller. It goes from 100% all the way down to whatever percentage his is, a small piece of the pie. But he pointed out something really interesting and something really important as far as collaboration is concerned. He said, if I would have kept 100% of the pie myself, and it was just him trying to write it and him trying to take it to the world and him trying to sell it and do the publicity, it could reach a handful of people in the world. But when he pairs up with the people he brought in on his team, his piece of the pie is much smaller because he has to split it up and share it. But what happens is the entire pie grows. So even though his slice of the pie is smaller, it's still more. His one little slice of the pie is still more than the whole pie used to be because of how big the pie is built into. And so that thought process becomes really interesting, especially as a smaller family-based business. That concept of saying, okay, interesting. The thought process of, wow, what do we do if we keep hitting roadblocks? Sometimes you need a great partner, and the great partner can come in and they see it differently. They act differently. They have different resources. They have different connections. They have a different way of going about it. And with the right partnership, things can grow massively. Now, going back to the example of the movie we were watching last night, how do you find the right partner? That's a big question. And a lot of it has to do with what is their style of business? What is their way of going about things? And we created a really cool template that we use with startups to help vet their teams, because we want to help you figure out, how do you step into this person's universe? How do you step into their thought process of how they handle challenges, how they handle when things go right, how they handle when things go wrong, what they do when things are, growing, what they do when things are falling, or what they do when they're stressed out, their communication rules, their personality templated profile, and their traits and what they believe, their beliefs, their values, their rules about communication. All these things are so important. And so if you're going to choose the route of having a partner, making sure you vet the tar out of them before you ever agree. Hence, the McDonald's thing is they found the right partner. They grew like crazy. The only problem is their partner turned out to be a bit of a horrible partner and, technically stole their business from them and messed them up. But they could have noticed that if they saw his way of doing business from the beginning. They just let that kind of slip when they were going about it, and they could have caught it early on. Now, the truth is their concept of McDonald's would have never gotten as big as it is now, but that's the whole thought process with that right partner. A wolf in the hen house, my wife says, yes. Chelsea says, would love a partner, but how do you find a partner? That's a big question. And so a lot of times it's figuring out which partner you need. And so there's kind of two ways to go about doing it. One way is if you look at the book E-Myth, I think it's called E-Myth Revisited. He talks about there's an entrepreneur, there's a, entrepreneur, a technician, and a manager. And so the entrepreneur is the person who's willing to take the risks. They're willing to throw the money in. And so you might go find a partner, Chelsea, who's an entrepreneur, who goes, wow, I love your concept for a business. And look, you've gotten it working so far. It's kind of like Shark Tank. They go, hey, I want X percentage of your business ownership, and I'll give you $100,000 for that. And you take that $100,000 and show me how you're going to use it. You're going to buy a new machine. You're going to get some more inventory. You're going to run some ads. Boom, that seems like a great idea. Wonderful. Hey, here's the money. You go do it. And they don't want to do it. They just want to be the financial partner. They're the entrepreneur. So finding that kind of partner is one way, and there's lots of places to go to find people like that. Shark Tank being one of them, depending on what stage of your business is in, only because of all the publicity you get with it. So applying to stuff like that concept. There you go. Craig says, my business partner enjoys money, so I use him for this, and he uses you for the tech, and then they both enjoy the business. Very cool. Now, here's another way to do it. If you're the entrepreneur who you're willing to take the risk, you're willing to go take the loan, you're willing to put your money into it, go find a technician, someone who's willing to do the work again and again and again and again and again for you as a partner. Or maybe you need a good manager. Like, hey, you can get 2 or 3 people to do the work, but you need a manager who can actually manage them and make sure the systems stay in place and the quality stays in place, stuff like that. So there's 3 pieces there: entrepreneur, manager, and or the technician, the person who's delivering it. The example I always use is something I learned from my dad when he teaches this concept. If you look at the basketball team, there's the concept of Steph Curry, who's the whole concept of he's the basketball player. He's the technician. He can shoot the ball really well. He can dribble. He can play the game of basketball. There's Steve Kerr, the coach. He can manage Steph Curry really well and get the team to play at their absolute best. And then there's who is it? Joe LeCobe and Peter Guber, who are the entrepreneurs. They're the financial people who pay for everything and make sure that the risk is on them. So here's what's wild. If the technician, if Steph Curry has to come to every basketball game and he has to have a briefcase with $10 million of his paycheck sitting in it, and if the stands aren't full, and if everyone doesn't buy popcorn and a hot dog, and if everyone doesn't buy soda, and if everything isn't perfect, he has to leave $2 million back behind that game, and he just gets to take home 8 of his money. Could you imagine what would be going through his head the whole game? He wouldn't be focused on the basket or dribbling. He'd be like yelling, "Hey, buy popcorn, get a hot dog." Like, he'd be running around the stadium yelling at people instead of actually playing the game. And so that thought process, they have to be able to focus on what they're good at and not have to think about the rest of it. The next piece, imagine Steve Kerr. He gets paid so many millions a year. Imagine he has to bring 50% of his entire income for the year every game. And here's what happens. If by chance the stadium isn't full, people don't buy popcorn, he has to leave half his paycheck there that game. It's going to be pretty hard to focus on managing the team if he's constantly worrying about who's buying popcorn or not. And then finally, I hate to say it, but I've seen Joe and Peter, and they're both wonderful human beings. But if you hand them the basketball and tell them to go take Steph Curry's place, I don't think the game's going to go so well. They can both shoot the ball, and I don't think they can pull it off like Steph does, or Durant or any of those guys. So that concept, they each play a role that gives the other one the freedom to do it. Now here's what's wild. Little bonus insight that came from our business building 2-day boot camp we did for our Performance Coach University students here in Tampa. We had a friend who came over and talked about 3 different things most people have in partnerships, and you want to make sure to identify which one you really have and which one you need to grow your business. And this is how I grew my coaching business from scratch to 52 one-on-one coaching clients a month, literally within 8 months. And if you're a coach out there, that's a big deal, because most coaches never have that kind of growth, especially not in their first year. Now, it wasn't my first year coaching. I had about 6.5 years of coaching experience prior to that. It was my first year on my own coaching. So I had tons of experience and tons of testimonials of people I've helped through coaching up into that point. I just didn't have my own business around it. So here's what's wild, just to do this really quickly for you, just as a thought to consider. I had a really good service to offer people. Now, most people didn't know about it because I didn't have really big reach. I just had a good service. Now, I found a partner who had a really good reach, meaning she had about 10,000 small business owners in her community up in Los Angeles. And she also had a pretty good reputation. These people knew her and they trusted her and they liked her because of her other businesses she had before. So the combination of us working together, I brought a really great service. She also had a great service, so we teamed up on that one. She had a good reputation. I had a good reputation. And then she had the third piece, which I didn't have, which is she had a big reach into the community to access people who'd be interested in our product and service. We combine it together, and with those 3 pieces combined together, all of a sudden the business takes off. And so another example of this is it's why someone with a huge reach, let's say, NBC, the TV station, or I forget what they're called, but the giant radio station. So let's say NBC, they team up and they say, what's a great product? And so we'll use the silly example I like to use. So Nationwide, the auto insurance. So you have NBC, they have a huge reach, millions of eyeballs. Great product, let's say, like car insurance, whatever that product is. And you mix it together with a celebrity that someone knows, likes, and trusts for some reason, even though they're an actor. You mix that together, and all of a sudden it becomes the perfect commercial, because you have tons of people getting reached, you have someone that they know, like, and trust, and then you have a great product or service that they're endorsing, and all of a sudden, boom, the business grows. And so that same concept in your business. Are you someone who has an incredible reputation with your community? I mean, they really like you and they really trust you and they really know you and you have a great big community you've built. Or are you someone who has just a phenomenal product that basically no one knows about, but it's literally world class. It is the best of what you could get. It just blows everything else away. Or third, have you built up a lot of trust and rapport with people? I think I got all 3 of those. A little tired from all this sitting today, but concept, big reach, amazing product, or incredible credibility. That's the third piece. Now, going back to Chelsea, depending on which of the three you have, the other two or the other one is what you're looking for in a partner. So you want to comb through and say, okay, who do I know that has the ones I'm missing? So let's say you have an incredible product. So who do you know that has huge distribution, huge reach? And who do you know that has a lot of credibility? So again, if you watch how this intersects, it's why you see a celebrity holding a certain handbag on a magazine, because the magazine has huge distribution sometimes. The handbag is what's trying to be sold, and the celebrity is what people look to figure out what the trend is. And so that combination, it's why it happens again and again and again. If you look around, you notice it everywhere after you know that fact. And so the question becomes, okay, how do I do that with my business? So I'll give you a for instance. In our new program we're building, I sat down and I like to say I manifested this. I don't know. But I sat down and I thought about, who has huge distribution to the people we really want to communicate with. 2 days later, I got an email from Udemy online, and they reached out to us and said, hey, we'd like to work with you on the possibility of building a program for our audience. We've had 15 million students use our platform to buy a program. I was like, hey, that's a good reach. I like it. And I said, okay, interesting. I said, well, I have a pretty good reputation. People know me for the ones who do, but we have a small community. So I said, okay, who else do I know that can help me on the following topics? And I sat down and I said, the topics we want to help people, these are the things that we want people to walk away from. And let me see if I can find the benefits of our program real quick. So here's the benefits of the program we wanted to build, just so give you a sample of this. We want people to walk away with a clear vision of how they want to live their ideal day and ideal life, and a set of daily habits that'll help them turn that vision into reality. We want people to walk away with the ability to access absolute mental clarity at will. What does that mean? The ability to clear your mind at will and be totally centered and focused with zero distractions or thoughts in your mind. Number 3, we want people to have the ability to stay calm and focused during the craziest times of business life and personal situations that come up versus stress. So the ability to stay calm and focused. 4, we want the ability to access mental and physical super performance each day through certain techniques we can use mentally, physically, and emotionally. We want people to be pain-free in their bodies and have total alignment without needing a chiropractor or any outside people, but just be pain-free. Like walk, move, breathe, be flexible, and with zero pain in your body anywhere. We want people to increase their lifespan through consistently using certain types of physical training. We want people to become the physical strongest version of themselves physically. We want people to have a rock solid sleep plan to be able to regenerate their body at the highest level and wake up feeling refreshed and refueled every day instead of groggy. We want people to practice creating deep meaning and purpose in all that they do. We want people to build a powerful peer group to support them in their journey. And we want people to learn to cultivate absolute abundance of happiness and joy in their life. Those are our outcomes for the program. And so we made a huge list of who are all the people we know who have already built a lot of credibility because they're literally the go-to person for a lot of those categories. And we went and tracked them all down. And we said, okay, we have great credibility. They have great credibility. We have an okay reach. They have a decent reach. Many of them have pretty big reaches. If we combine that together and we take it to a platform and we put it on Udemy and we find a price point, I don't know, somewhere around $40, $50 for people, and you get access to all of this in one place, that's going to be pretty remarkable. And we're like, wow. And hopefully the product will speak for itself. Ian says, wow, where do I sign up? It's not ready yet. It's still being built. It should be ready in about August, September. And the people we're talking to, I don't want to spill the beans yet, but we're talking to some of the best people out there. Some of them we've had as guests on JRC TV. Some of them we've had in other places. And that thought, though, of bringing them together as a team, slicing up the pie for everybody to make sure everyone's taken care of and it's all a win for them. But it's like, wow, how cool to be able to help people because we have a platform with massive distribution. we have a group of us who have credibility in our own spaces, meaning in our own sectors, in our own places. We all have credibility, and we've all built that by delivering again and again and again and again for people. And then the final piece is we're going to create a product that'll hopefully speak for itself. You know, we can't tell you it's an amazing product until after it's built and you go through it and you tell us. Ian says, Udemy is a massive free marketplace. They promote you very well. Yeah. And the neat part is, the reason I say I manifested it is because I sat down and I said, you know, I would love to actually have a partner. And Udemy is good that we can build our own course and put it out there, but they reach out to us from the corporate side and said, hey, we want to work with you on building, editing, producing, creating, and marketing this program to really take it to our community because we think they'd love it. And so Chelsea says, sign me up. Not yet, but that concept, when you combine those three things together, I believe, knock on wood, that's where the magic happens. And I didn't come up with that formula, but it's something very useful. And so hopefully, you know, Chelsea, in your business, and Craig, good night. Hope you have some great dreams. But for everyone else who's watching, when you combine those three pieces in your business, that's where the huge growth can happen. I used it when I first started my coaching business. For any of you who are a coach trying to figure out how to grow your coaching business, that's what I did. I had a killer service. I knew how to deliver. I went and found a partner who had a great reach, and together both of us had a solid reputation. We combined those three things together, and I went from maybe 1, 2, 3 clients a month signing up to, I remember our first event, we had 20 clients in one day sign up, and I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And luckily, I had 6.5 years of coaching experience prior to that, so I could deliver results for them in a great way. I just hadn't built a business up until that point. So just some side tips there. Let's see. I'm going to go grab dinner with my wife because I heard she is home. Hopefully this was useful. Good chit chat. Chelsea, I hope you were able to figure out some type of partnership. Oh, the question you asked, where do you find these partners? You can find them everywhere. A lot of times, some of the best partners you're going to find are people who are actively doing stuff in their own way. People who are in motion tend to be great partners because they're already in motion. They're already doing stuff. You just have to be able to show them that what you want to work on together, A, doesn't take a whole lot of time away from whatever they're already doing, unless you catch them in a transition period where they're looking for their next thing, and then it could work out. You have to show them, B, how it lines up with helping them hit their mission. So every person we've picked, we all target and work with a very similar audience of people. And therefore, when it crosses over between all 6, 7 of us, it's going to be an awesome opportunity because it's going to allow all of us to cross-pollinate in a way and reach a whole nother group of people who are interested in what we have to offer, who would love the services and the information we have, and it would help our audiences and our communities kind of get to know each other. And so you're going to love some of these people we've picked. They're really remarkable human beings, and they're fun to talk with. I also love learning in the process, though, too, because I get to talk to them like, dang, never thought of that. That's amazing. And so they know all the cool insights to stuff that I'm not familiar with, and I share with them the stuff that I know that they don't yet. Anyways, hopefully that's helpful. But the place to find them is in motion. If you want to go get a top salesperson, rarely you're going to find them, sitting around waiting for a job. You're going to find them at a company, literally topping the charts every month, and you ideally cross recruit them in that case. But that's usually where you're going to find the best people, is out doing stuff and kicking butt at life. Anyways, have a great night, everyone. If you found this useful, make sure to click that share button. Any topics you want me to cover tomorrow, feel free to drop it in the comment section. I will read it and come on and share the best of what we have. Hope you all have an amazing night, and I'll talk